All right. This is Tatiana Sawyer, and today I want to talk to you about why you need thinking time built into your business week. And here's why. Thinking time is super important, and the reason is that we as human beings are unable to multitask. And that's been scientifically proven that we can't multitask because unlike a computer where if you have 1, 2, 3, 4 different tasks and it can change from task 1 phase 1 to task 2 phase 1 and then kind of do that easily, a human brain cannot do that, meaning it can, but it actually doesn't. It takes about 8 minutes on average to recalibrate. And so every time you multitask, you actually recalibrate every 8 minutes. And so imagine how many times you switch between tasks, between different things that you do, and how much time you're wasting during your day simply because your brain doesn't work as fast and as well when you switch between tasks. And one of the authors I follow, he wrote a book called The One Thing. He talks about the fact that priority is a singular, it's not a plural. And so typically another author, and kind of the expression thinking time I borrowed from another author, Keith Cunningham, who wrote a really great book called The Road Less Stupid. But he talks about this thinking time, how important it is. And I think it's important to find your way of creating that thinking time. And so what that means is that you have to build it into your week so that you have a designated time when it's most productive, when you're most fresh and productive. For me, it's morning. And typically morning of Monday or Tuesday, because that's when I'm most fresh in terms of my brain capacity and so on and so forth. And so typically when I do this, I create a couple of hours. It doesn't even have to be a couple of hours. It could be an hour. It could be 30 minutes where I have to just focus on one thing and one thing only. How to grow my business, how to grow revenue, how to create new streams of revenue, how to uncover hidden revenue, which is the most important part of a business, right? Without revenue, a business will not exist. And so you have to create that process for yourself so that when you have designated time every week, you could even do it every day. If you designate a half hour in the morning to actually do that, maybe an hour. I think for me personally, half hour is not enough, but an hour of free time where I don't have any scheduled calls, I don't have any scheduled things that I have to do, spending that time kind of just having an quote unquote empty brain is extremely valuable and extremely productive, I found. But why you need it in your business? Because, this almost cliche expression now, right? We have to work on the business and not in the business. The reality is that not a lot of people can actually physically do that, meaning in reality, we are often so consumed by the business because we haven't gotten it to a point where it's actually scaled and can operate without us. It's just impossible to do that. And so typically, in order for it to actually work, you have to designate the time where you are going to spend working on your business, and that involves thinking time, right? And thinking time is super important in any business. And what you can do is you can do something called a structured week, something I learned from my coach. But the way I do it is this. Mondays is my thinking time day. I don't have any calls. I don't have any calls scheduled for Mondays or Fridays, except for maybe some very important connections that I want to connect with. Like tonight, I'm connecting with somebody very important. And so I'm okay with that around 4 o'clock. But then I typically have those days open. And the reason is this. If I'm invited to speak on a Wednesday or Thursday or Tuesday, I can always move people from that day, all of them to the same time, their usual slot on a Monday or Friday. I typically also keep Fridays open so that I can connect with prospective clients. I can also go get a massage or whatever, right? And typically, Tuesdays is my accounting clients' day. So typically VIP clients who have a weekly call or sometimes bi-weekly or sometimes monthly, they join me on a Tuesday. And typically I would not have anything else on that day. I do have my schedule open so that if a prospective client wants to book during this window of me not having a call, maybe a client canceled, maybe it's a bi-monthly call or bi-weekly call or whatever the setup is, that's kind of how it works. And so typically Tuesday is my accounting firm day. Everything else is promoting my coaching business, writing books, getting trained to speak, or actually rehearsing. Right now I'm rehearsing for 2 upcoming TEDx stages. And so that's what this time is for. And typically I allocate and I block the time so that nobody can book it. What I don't want to do is have half an hour call, half an hour break, half an hour call, half an hour break kind of thing. And so this is extremely important to create thinking time for me. And so typically I have my calendar open at 8:30. However, recently I've been doing a couple of hours on Mondays for thinking time to work on the business, right? And because of that, I'm creating new revenue. I've already created new streams of revenue for the business. So we've designed some really cool SOPs. We're designing them still. We're polishing them up for the accounting firm. But for other businesses too, this is the time where I spend not having to think about running to answer emails or calls or doing the actual accounting work. This is how important that thinking time is. So if you haven't incorporated this yet in your business, consider this as a red flag, as a sign, as a something, whatever works. Consider that as an invitation to create some thinking time in your business. Again, it's important because how do you create new revenue? How do you make sure that you actually bring in more money or bring in money at all? I have clients who do that, or I also have clients who kind of run around and don't really create any thinking time. Instead, they make themselves busy with team calls and expect other people to think for them, and that doesn't work in business. In business, you have to set direction. You know, in accounting, back in the Enron WorldCom era, there was this new law, right, Sarbanes-Oxley created, which had accountability for accountants and added accountability for accounting firms and so on. But most importantly, what it created was that this notion of tone at the top. And it doesn't only apply to accounting, it applies to every single business. Tone at the top works. If you are the owner and if you say it's okay to waste paper, your employees will waste paper. And it basically applies to pretty much every other area of your business. So starting today, create some thinking time in your business, because that's how you get focused, centered on your business. That's how you get new ideas on how to improve that business and how to grow it, right? Everybody wants to grow their business. Most people want to scale it, right? So that they don't have to be working in the business all the time. But if you don't actually take steps toward that, it will never happen. That's the reality. And so I invite you today to block that calendar, to create your thinking time, and to start spending some time on your business. All right, I'll be back in a few days with another tip for you on how to make your business better. This was Tatiana Sawyer, and I'll see you soon.